the heavyweight revolution. In the mid-1980s, the heavyweight division of boxing had become slow and predictable, dominated by large, durable fighters who often coasted to decision victories. The era of exciting, aggressive heavyweights seemed to be over. Fights were going the distance, knockouts were rare, and the casual fan was losing interest. The heavyweight championship, once the most coveted prize in all of sports, had become a technical chess match rather than a thrilling spectacle. Then, a force of nature named Mike Tyson emerged from the Catskill Mountains of New York, and with the force of a single punch, he changed everything. Tyson was not just a boxer, he was a cultural phenomenon, a fighter who transcended the sport and became a global icon. But the Mike Tyson effect was more than just his celebrity status or his knockout highlights. It was a fundamental shift in how heavyweights fought, a return to the aggressive, seek and destroy mentality that the division had lost. Tyson brought back the idea that a heavyweight fight could end in seconds, that every punch carried the potential for a spectacular knockout. He made the heavyweight division exciting again, and in doing so, he changed the sport forever. Fans who had tuned out came rushing back, pay-per-view numbers skyrocketed, and boxing was once again the most talked-about sport in the world. Cus D'Amato and the peekaboo system. To understand Tyson's revolutionary impact, you have to understand the man who created him, the legendary trainer Cus D'Amato. D'Amato was a boxing philosopher who developed a unique and highly effective style known as the peekaboo. This was not just a defensive guard, it was a complete fighting system, a philosophy of combat that had been refined over decades. The peekaboo style involved holding the gloves high against the cheeks, with the elbows tucked in tight to protect the body. But the real key was constant head movement, bobbing and weaving in unpredictable patterns. This constant movement made the fighter an elusive target, but more importantly, it created openings for devastating counter-punches. The peekaboo was designed to allow a shorter fighter to get inside on a taller opponent, slip their jabs, and unleash explosive combinations at close range. D'Amato drilled Tyson relentlessly in this style, molding him from a troubled street kid into a disciplined fighting machine. He would make Tyson practice the same movements thousands of times until they became second nature, until his body moved on instinct rather than conscious thought. The peekaboo was the engine of the Mike Tyson effect, a style that was almost impossible for the lumbering heavyweights of the era to deal with. It was a style built for speed, aggression, and overwhelming power. D'Amato didn't just teach Tyson how to fight, he taught him how to be a predator, how to break an opponent's will before the first punch was even thrown. The physics of Tyson's power. So what made Tyson's punches so different from other heavyweights? The secret was not just in his natural power, but in the way he generated it. Tyson was relatively short for a heavyweight, standing at only 5 feet 10 inches, which put him at a significant reach disadvantage against most of his opponents. To overcome this height disadvantage, he used the peekaboo system to get inside on his taller opponents. He would slip and weave under their jabs, bob his head to avoid their power punches, and once he was in range, he would unleash a barrage of hooks and uppercuts with blinding speed. Tyson's power was generated from the ground up, using the explosive rotation of his hips and torso to generate incredible torque. He didn't just throw punches with his arms, he threw his entire body into every shot, transferring kinetic energy from his legs through his core and into his fists. This, combined with his incredible hand speed, created a level of explosive power that the heavyweight division had never seen before. His punches were not just hard, they were fast and accurate, landing with pinpoint precision on the chin or the temple. This combination of speed, power, and accuracy made Tyson one of the most feared knockout artists in boxing history. When Tyson landed a clean shot, the fight was over. His opponents would crumble to the canvas, their legs giving out from under them, their eyes glazed over. It was not just a knockout, it was a statement of dominance. The physics of his punching power were so devastating that even fighters who had never been knocked out before found themselves unable to withstand his assault. Psychological warfare and intimidation. But the Mike Tyson effect was not just about physical technique, it was about psychological warfare. Tyson's ring entrances were the stuff of legend. He would walk to the ring with no robe, no entourage, no fanfare, just black trunks, black shoes, and an intense, intimidating stare. He looked like a predator stalking its prey, and his opponents knew it. He would often not even acknowledge the crowd, his focus entirely on the man across the ring. This aura of menace was carefully cultivated. Tyson understood that boxing was as much a mental game as a physical one, and he used fear as a weapon. He would stare down his opponents during the referee's instructions, trying to break their will before the first bell even rang. Most of his fights were over before they even began, his opponents mentally defeated by his aura of invincibility. They had seen the highlight reels, they had heard the stories, and they were already afraid. This psychological dominance, combined with his one-punch knockout power, created a fighter who was, for a time, truly unbeatable. He was not just fighting his opponents, he was breaking their spirit. Many fighters would later admit that they were terrified of Tyson before they even stepped into the ring, that they had already accepted defeat in their minds. This mental edge was just as important as his physical skills, and it was a key component of the Mike Tyson effect. The cultural phenomenon. The cultural impact of Mike Tyson cannot be overstated. In the late 1980s, he became the most famous athlete on the planet, transcending boxing and becoming a mainstream celebrity. He was a crossover star who appeared in movies, television shows, and video games. He was the subject of countless magazine covers and news stories. He brought a level of excitement and danger back to the heavyweight division that had been missing since the days of Muhammad Ali. Every Mike Tyson fight was a major cultural event, a must-see spectacle. People who had never watched boxing before tuned in to see if Tyson would knock out his opponent in the first round. He was, for a generation of fans, the very definition of a heavyweight champion. He was the youngest heavyweight champion in history, winning the title at just 20 years old. He was the first heavyweight to hold all three major championship belts simultaneously, becoming the undisputed champion of the world. His fights generated massive pay-per-view numbers and sold out arenas around the globe. He was a global icon, and his influence extended far beyond the boxing ring. Tyson became a symbol of raw power and dominance, a figure who represented the primal nature of combat sports. His image was everywhere, from video game covers to rap lyrics. He was not just a boxer, he was a cultural force. The decline and the legacy. Tyson's reign at the top was not destined to last forever. His personal life became increasingly chaotic, and his focus on training began to wane. The death of his mentor, Cus D'Amato, left him without the guiding hand that had kept him disciplined. His loss to Buster Douglas in 1990 is considered one of the biggest upsets in sports history, a moment that shattered the myth of his invincibility. After that, Tyson was never quite the same fighter. He went to prison, he changed trainers, and he lost the discipline that had made him great. But even in decline, Tyson remained a draw, a reminder of what he once was. His legacy, however, is secure. He changed the heavyweight division, he brought excitement back to boxing, and he became a cultural icon. He proved that a shorter, more aggressive fighter could dominate the heavyweight division with the right training and the right mindset. His influence can still be seen in fighters today who try to emulate his aggressive style and his psychological dominance. Why we don't see modern Tyson clones? So why don't we see modern heavyweights fighting like Mike Tyson? There are several reasons. First, the peekaboo style is incredibly difficult to master and requires a level of athleticism, dedication, and discipline that few fighters possess. It requires years of drilling and conditioning to execute properly. Second, the heavyweight division has changed. Today's heavyweights are much larger than the fighters of Tyson's era, with many standing over 6 feet 5 inches tall and weighing well over 240 pounds. This makes it much more difficult for a shorter fighter to get inside and use the peekaboo style effectively. The reach advantage is simply too great. Finally, the sport has become more risk-averse. The financial stakes are so high that many fighters and their teams are content to box from a distance, use their jab, and win by decision, rather than risk getting knocked out by going for a spectacular finish. The era of the all-or-nothing knockout artist, for now, seems to be a thing of the past, but the legend of Mike Tyson and the impact he had on the sport will live on forever.